Right, let's go. It's Man United versus Liverpool. We are here again for another, what some people call the Northwest Derby, which kind of freaks me out a little bit. But let's get straight into it. We've got the Red Men TV, we've got Howson, we've got Cheeky Sport Dave, and we've got Josh here. It's a full show. I'm not going to get a word in edgeways here. I know that that's going to be the case, but I'm sure that you lot are going to be very, very happy about that. So let's get straight into it, and let's talk about, well, to be honest, going into this game, all the talk about Man United in particular is about whether we will be able to do it against a big team. So first question that I want to ask, firstly, this season, are Liverpool really that big test? And secondly, are we actually going to prove people wrong and prove that we can do it in a big game? Because let's face it, even if Liverpool aren't great at the minute, it is still a massive game. Let's start with Cheeky Sport Dave. Why not? Dave, tell me, is this our first big test of the season?
Yeah, well, you got to look at it comparatively in terms of the people we've played. Obviously, you can only beat the people that are in front of you. But comparatively, it is our first big test. They finished inside the top four last season. They are one of the top four teams in the Premier League if you're going by last season. So yes, indeed, it is the first big test if you're looking at it from that standpoint. Obviously, they haven't been in good form. Obviously, they've been losing quite a few games, dropping quite a few points by a few margins. I see my man shaking his head there. But it doesn't change what it is, to be honest with you. I mean, we spend a lot of time trying to play down the game because obviously we don't want it to become too big in the mind of the players and the occasion to become too big in the mind of the players. So then usually it results in a non-game. But it is a massive game, regardless. No matter how each team is playing or what form each team gets or coming into game in, they both rise to the occasion when they play each other, usually. So...
Dave, my apologies. I just can't hear anything at the minute. If I'm just being silent, I'm not being ignorant. We're just trying to sort out the headphones first. Right, we're back on. Dave, carry on what you were saying. I can hear you now.
No, I was just saying that basically, no matter what it looks like, they both teams rise to the occasion. No matter how they're playing and what form they go into the game in, both teams usually rise to the occasion when they play each other because it is such a highly contested game. The two most successful clubs in English football history, the biggest game in the Premier League in essence. So.
Exactly, yeah. Don't really. It's one of them. Like even if United or Liverpool were way down in the divisions, it would still be such a massive game. And it doesn't really matter how either are doing in the league. I think sometimes, a lot of the time, form goes out the window. Sorry to get in the first cliche of the preview. Let's go to Howson. Howson, tell me, is this our first big test of the season? I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, it is our first big test because going to Anfield, no matter what situation either of the clubs is always a big test. Like everyone's alluding to already, it's the biggest game in English football. And when Liverpool was having their dominance back when it was all black and white, like we would be able to beat them. When we've been having our dominance, since the advent of HD television, they've been able to beat us. So I think regardless of who's on top at the time, everything goes out the window. And I fucking love this game. Sorry for swearing, but I do love this game because it's one of the only games in the Premier League where you don't feel that sanitation that you normally feel with some of the Premier League games. Going to Anfield is still nerve-wracking as a fan and, from not just what's going to happen on the pitch, if you know what I'm saying. So I think this is the sort of game that you live for. This is the first fixture I look for in a season. City would wet their pants for it to be as big a game against them. Honestly, this is the big one. But yes, it is our first big test, regardless of how shit their defence is.
Yeah, we've got Paul here from Red Men TV as well. Paul, I want to get your perspective on this. Do you think this game has sort of, I don't know, lost its, I don't want to say glamour, because it's never been really glamorous. It's always been quite raw, but lost its glamour in a way because of the way the two teams have gone over the past few years?
No, I don't agree. First off, can I just say this is the most like I remember years ago going to Old Trafford to watch us play Bayern Munich in the Champions League and being on the tram up to Old Trafford surrounded by Manx all singing anti-Scout songs, and this is the closest feeling I've had to that, being surrounded by you knobheads online. No, I don't think it's lost any of the glamour or whatever you want to call it, the shine. I think the fact that they built it up so much, they did that Red Monday bollocks or whatever it was last time, and it was just they overhyped it, and I'm not sure this game needs hype because it's Liverpool versus Man United. It's the game that both of those teams most want to win, I think, in the league, and that I think our rivalry with Man United is bigger than our rivalry with Everton, and I think yours is bigger with us than it is with City. So, absolutely massive game. And look, as Dave says as well, he's talking about the two biggest teams in English football. Okay, albeit historically, the interest around the world makes this the biggest game. So no, I don't think it's lost anything. That being said, it could do with it being a bit more thrilling than the Anfield game was last season, because that was a bit of a snooze fest.
Joshy, let's face it, at the minute, so far in the season, I think Man United fans are definitely hoping and sort of expecting a title challenge. Will that expectation change if we were to lose at Anfield on the weekend?
Will that expectation change? No, I don't think so. It's too early on in the season. Every team is going to drop points and just it's too early on to say, oh, okay, we're going to lose against Liverpool and that's it. That we need to start tempering our expectation. The thing is with this game, if you gave it to someone who didn't know anything about football or the Premier League or anything like that, they look at the form, they look at the players, and they sort of go, right, this should be a United win. They look at the league table, and it should be relatively comfortable. And the problem is Liverpool, and this is a problem I have with Liverpool as a team and Klopp as a manager, is they raise themselves up for these big games. They beat Arsenal 4-0 earlier on in the season. Yeah, they got panned by City, but there was a red card, and they did look all right in the early stages of that game. And they raised themselves up for this match. And then against other teams, they just don't have that same mentality. They'll get beat by smaller sides. They draw against Newcastle, I think, as most recent result. And there's that different. That's what I mean. Like this idea that Klopp is a great manager. I don't know that that's true. When you see the inconsistency in the performances against the big sides versus the lesser sides in the league. So when we're going into this game, yeah, I completely agree with what's already been said. You can't look at the table. You can't look at that, because they will raise their game. They will come in and put in performances that is worthy of the sort of amount of money that's been spent on both sides and the rivalry that's been there historically. So, going back to your question, if we do end up losing, I wouldn't say it will temper my expectations, but certainly we'll have to be cautious of sort of what the mentality might be. Then the next big test, and it might be something that plays on the team psychologically. But at the same time, we have to admit we've spent a lot of money. The team is in place. Jose's pretty much got most of his transfer targets, and now is a time he has to challenge for the title, and there's no excuses for that.
Joshy, you can't slag off Jurgen Klopp. Don't forget about all that passion that he's got. He's got so much passion, so much passion.
I'm not slagging him off. He's obviously a great manager, and he's got 2 league titles in Germany under his belt, right? But what I'm saying is there are a lot of question marks about this side, and I think Liverpool fans will also agree. I mean, they had the best record against the top 6 last season, top of the table in that sort of mini league, or against the sort of traditional top 6. But then they only finished 4th. And this season, again, they've had really poor results. So it's kind of like you've got to try and work out why that is. And
we saw Louis van Gaal finishing top of those top 6 mini leagues. It means nothing. You've got to be able to adapt to playing the teams at the top and beating the teams at the bottom. That's what makes you a good manager.
I know what Josh is saying. Josh is saying that.
And that is my point. Yeah.
Josh is saying that it seems like the more up for those games, and I think that's the case for a lot of the teams lower down in the Premier League. To be honest, especially when they play Man United, it seems like they pump themselves up for it a little bit more. And as a fan, if I was a fan of those teams, I'd be fuming, because you have these teams finishing like lower down in the league, and they just don't turn up half the time. And when they play some of the big ones, they sort of put in more effort, and that would really annoy me as a fan. But
lads, you remember we finished above yous last season, yeah?
How many trophies did you win, lad?
Just to remember this, just as a point, we did definitely finish above yous in the league last season, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Carry on. That's fine. Just wanted to make sure.
Can I just address this argument I see all the time from you lot and from Arsenal fans? We quite clearly
we gave up on the league.
On going down Europa, which is what we managed to do.
I'm just saying.
You qualified for Europa, for your Champions League, the same way we did, but we got a big vase as well.
No. I'm not debating winning the Europa League, but Like, don't be like, well, Liverpool, well, they got into the top 4, didn't they? And, and don't forget, where did you finish sixth?
Mate, this is once again a Liverpool fan talking about the past. I'm talking about the present, where we are right now and where you are right now. That's what I'm talking about. Right, let's go to point number 2. I'm sure that a lot of people will be very happy to know about this, but Paul, you're not really going to be much of a part of this conversation. We're talking about 2 Manchester United players, Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford. The big question at the minute is who do you go for? Because you know who plays up front, but who plays on that left-hand side? And who would you go for in this game? Howson, what are you saying, man?
Rashford. It's not even difficult to come up with.
Oh, really?
Jurgen Klopp's teams get undone by the smaller clubs because the smaller clubs outwork them, and they do well against the bigger clubs because they find a lot of space. Nobody works harder than Marcus Rashford on a football pitch. So for that reason, and let's remember, this is Jose Mourinho. This isn't Jose Mourinho's going to turn up with his balls hanging out and try and beat Liverpool going toe-to-toe. He's not going to do that. He's going to be pragmatic. Now, does he go to the extreme that we saw last season, which was a bit of shithousery, really, from us? And we tried to hit them on the break. And ultimately, we came away with a result, the press seeing their arse. They didn't really see their arse as much when Liverpool did it to us at Old Trafford. But I think we've got to go. The real test for United this season is whether we go to the grounds of our opposition in the top 4 and we turn up with a mentality to win those games. And I think we can definitely win this game at Anfield. And the way we've got to do that is through hard work. And as much as I think Anthony Martial is probably one of the most talented footballers in the Premier League, sometimes a bit of graft has to come in. And the team that I think Jose Mourinho is going to be picking is a team that's set up to graft and to outwork Liverpool. Or to outwork them in certain areas and take advantage of their weaknesses. And I think Anthony Martial, the way he put pressure on that Chelsea defence, forcing them into long balls into the channels that weren't really the type of balls that they wanted to be playing. I think if he can do that with this Liverpool defence, because they play a high line as well, I think Anthony Martial running at you, putting the pressure on you, I think that yields a lot of mistakes from that back 4. And I think he just does that a little bit better. Now, end product-wise, Anthony Martial's better all day long, but I think just forcing a mistake out of somebody, Marcus Rashford's a man for that.
Yeah, I tell you what, if you're looking for graft on the wing, maybe neither of them will start and he'll play Jesse Lingard. Joshy, what are you saying? Rashford or Martial? I'm only joking. Lingard won't play if either of those two are on the bench.
I mean, again, this is a difficult one because both of them have had impacts in matches that are played. But I think there's one thing that maybe, Howson touched upon it, and this is what sort of swings it for me is Anthony Martial. I think he's got a much better. He's just got better end product at the moment this season. He's affecting games, assists and goals, and look, I'm not sure that. I get the idea about working hard and forcing mistakes, but ultimately sometimes I just want us to see us rely on the quality in the final third. And the other thing that just pips it for me, and because you could go either way, I'm not saying Rashford isn't a good choice because he would be, but the thing that pips it for me is Jose Mourinho has had 2 weeks with Anthony Martial at home, right? And preparing for this game. He hasn't had international break to deal with. Rashford obviously had the 2 England games. I'm not saying he'll be tired. I'm not saying he'll be tired or run down. But Jose Mourinho's had 2 weeks with Anthony Martial to work on it. And, who's Liverpool right back, Joe Gomez, probably. He's had a decent season, actually. He's performing well. But if you've got Mourinho working with you for 2 weeks, you've got that sort of a preparation time, he should be getting Martial psyched up for this game, or at least I would be. That's my thought process anyway, to then go into that match and just take Joe Gomez apart and do what he does best and get assists and get goals. Because if our Martial does what he does with that type of preparation time, I'm sorry, Liverpool just don't have a chance.
Dave, we'll come to you in a sec, but actually, even though I said you won't be part of this conversation, let's talk to Paul from the Red Men TV about Joe Gomez, since Josh has brought him up. Tell me about him, Paul. I don't know an awful lot, apart from he's pretty good on FIFA.
No, he's solid. He's a very, very composed young lad. I think predominantly a centre-half, and I think the smart money's probably on him playing right back because I think he's more defensive-minded than Trent Alexander-Arnold. But when we've gone, at teams, we've gone to put a full-strength team out. Trent's been getting the nod at right back as well, so that's a possibility. Neither of them are in Nathaniel Klein's class in terms of being an actual out-and-out right back, which could definitely give you a little bit of opportunity. I'm not sure. Again, I think it'll go down to Mourinho's approach. I'm not sure he has it in him to play that approach that will cause our fullbacks problems, because I think we know how he plays in the big games, as Howson kind of alluded to before. He likes to take a point from these games. and then take the rest of his points, take their title winning points off the other 14 teams in the league or whatever. So yeah, Gomez can lose his head, but because he's a young lad. But I think he might impress one or two if he gets the nod.
Tell you what, a couple of names there though. Joe Gomez and what was the other one? Trent Alexander-Armstrong. What's his name? Trent Alexander-Armstrong. Is that it?
Arnold.
Yeah,
Arnold.
Yeah, that's his name. He's Louis Armstrong's son.
That's what I mean. I barely really know the guys. I mean, come on. Rashford or Martial, surely having a field day against whoever it is. Dave, what are you saying? You going for Marcus
Or
or
Mason
Tony?
analysis if ever I heard it. Like.
It's a tough one to look at, to be honest with you, because you have to weigh up both things. I think Housen put up a very, very strong argument there in terms of like Jose's pragmatic approach and the level at which Marcus Rashford works really, really hard in that sense, because you don't really get that defensive capabilities from Anthony Martial. But if you're looking at it from a perspective of your greatest strength versus Liverpool's biggest weakness, it's got to be Anthony Martial all day, because that's completely what he's all about. He's all about running at defenders. He's all about breaking teams down by making them run backwards with their back towards their own goal. And I think when you're looking at a Liverpool side that has, the greatest weakness in defence, then you need to exploit that with players such as Anthony Martial. And I'm not saying that Rashford isn't capable of doing so, because we've seen Rashford doing that many a times. But when it comes to that exceptional level, it's got to be Anthony Martial. And I think Dr. Joshi made a very, very strong point there about the amount of time Jose's had to work with Martial on this, because we all know that Jose is an absolute game manager. He focuses the team and the setup and the system on who they're playing.
Exactly.
And he would have looked at Liverpool very, very extensively, and having that time with Martial to break that down and to go through every single area and element of the game, as we know Jose likes to do, because he's very meticulous in that. I think, and I hope that Martial gets the nod there.
Are you also forgetting here, though? Like, you're forgetting that Liverpool's greatest strength is their attacking midfield. And it really is an absolutely terrifying prospect against those. He's going to want to double up those wingers with the fullbacks. He's not going to...
But then at the same time, we've got two solid holding midfielders in there that are probably not going to move that much. You got Matic. And,
this is Mourinho, though, mate. This is Mourinho. This is what he's going to do. He's not going to go toe-to-toe for them and make this like a 5-7 game. He's not going to do that.
Absolutely. I know that's a perfectly reasonable argument. Like Dave said, it's a strong case. And actually, it's in terms of predicting the lineup, potentially I'm leaning that way. But in terms of what I would do myself, in my opinion, is actually use those 2 weeks we've had, or the week and a bit we've had, and preparing for that match. And look, we're not playing with Pogba this weekend, or I don't think we will do. So you haven't got that sort of going forward from midfield. You've got the two sitters, and Herrera can work across to the left, and Matic across or whichever way around it works. So you've got a slightly more protection than you would have if you've got Pogba in there. So for me, I don't mind that slight extra, that slightly less sort of work down that right. And also, Mane's not playing. It's Salah probably going to be down that right.
We're going to talk about Mane in a little bit, and we're going to talk more about what team we think that Liverpool will be playing as well with Paul. Let's just get a few YouTube comments in at the minute, see what people are saying while they're watching live. Jay O'Connell says, first big game of the season. Completely agree. First real big test for us. Ernest says, Martial is awesome. I completely agree. I love Tony Martial. And Ashwin says, without Mane, there is no spark in the Liverpool attack, and therefore it will be hard for them to win, especially with their fragile defensive line. I disagree with that personally. I think Liverpool are very good up top, and we have to be very, very careful. And it'll be a big job for our holding midfielders, particularly under Herrera. I'd love for him to do to Coutinho what he did to Eden Hazard last season and just absolutely pocket him. But we will see. Guys, if you're watching this live, you probably won't get this. If you're watching this later on, you probably will. I don't know who gets the ad break, but apparently some people do. So we'll go into a 30-second ad break. You might get it, you might not. Back in a sec with the teams. Bam. Right, we're back. Let's do it then. Let's talk about starting 11s. Predict your starting 11s and see how they'll do against Liverpool. What are you saying, Housen? Who are you playing?
I can easily see Mourinho going with a 3 at the back in this case. But for me, I would go with a back 4 of Valencia, Bailly, Smalling, because I'm not sure on the fitness of Jones. Although if Jones is fit, he plays. And I'm going with Daley Blind at left back. And I know everyone's just going to dive in the comments and say that I hate Ashley Young. I'm going to tell you why Blind's in there. As I've said, a lot of people only look at what someone does with a ball at the feet and don't actually look at the mistakes and the errors that they have when they're defending, when they're marking, when they're jockeying and stuff like that. And the prospect of having Ashley Young trying to mark someone like Salah or Coutinho or something like that has kept me up at night. So I'm not even thinking about that. I would rather nullify the potential threat that we have from Ashley Young going forward, which is greater than Daley Blind, I think. And I would rather play Daley Blind and have a more solid platform to counteract what Liverpool are going to come with us. The midfield two has got to be obvious. Matic and Herrera. Looking forward to seeing those two as a pair of sixes to see what sort of stuff they can do. And then on the right-hand side, I think he's having an absolutely belting season. But I'm going to drop one matter, and I am going for Jesse Lingard for the same reasons that I've sort of been alluding to. United are going to win this game with a really fast counter-attack. That's what we're going to do. We're going to get in behind that high line that Liverpool play. And the way that we're going to do that is the movement and work rate of Jesse Lingard and Marcus Rashford in attack and defence, and the clinical finishing of Lukaku. And in the middle, the magic is going to be Mkhitaryan. So that's the forward for him going up. This is what I think Mourinho's probably going to go with, because I think that he's going to look to cede possession a little bit to Liverpool and try and hit them on the counter with speed. And Juan matters a lot of things, but speed isn't his forte, is it? Let's face it.
It's one of his favourite grounds, though, Juan Mata. Can't not play him here. Although it would be bloody lovely, wouldn't it, if Jesse Lingard and Marcus Rashford were to get a goal at Anfield? How amazing would that be?
What was that hashtag? What was the Mata hashtag again?
Juanfield.
Juanfield. That's right. That's right.
No, we're pretending that
means
never
as well,
happened.
if Marshall's on the bench, Marshall's coming on to get the winner. You know the dance.
Yeah, exactly. These guys were trying to mock me because I was saying that Martial was one of the best young players in the country the other day. I was like, you remember his first goal?
I love Anthony Martial. I think he's terrific.
On the debate, yeah, go and watch it, by the way. Cheeky little plug for my own stuff there. We did it earlier on in the week. Go and check it out on the channel. Right, another starting 11 from, let's go to Cheeky Sport. Dave, who are you playing, or who do you think Jose will play?
Obviously, I'm going with Sergio Romero. I'm joking. Obviously, I'm going with in goal. And then we got Valencia, Bay, Jones, Blind. For the same reasons, Blind, as Stephen Howson said there, his positional play, his positional awareness is second to none. He's got a yard and a half in his head already, and you're playing against
pretty slow.
And you're playing against a very, very fast-paced Liverpool side, so that kind of gets them on even kill in essence. And then obviously we've got Matic and Herrera in the midfield. I think you're going to get Herrera doing a lot of man marking type job on this one, that's what I hope Jose Mourinho goes for. And then we're going for Mata, Mickey, and Martial, the three M's. Simply because Mata loves playing Liverpool to a great degree. So does Martial. And Mickey, he's been in scintillating form, so obviously, and up top, none other than Lukaku. I think that's our strongest possible side to play Liverpool, and I think we might as well go out there with our strongest possible side.
You know, the thing is like you've said a similar sort of team to House, and I imagine that Josh will probably give a sort of similar team as well. But you can never predict Jose Mourinho, and I think especially in a big game like this, as we've already spoken about, being the man manager, being the guy who'll manage towards a particular game, I think we're going to see something mental, like genuinely mental that no one saw coming, like Pogba will start or something like that. Joshy, what you saying?
Yeah, so I mean, a similar setup and kind of similar teams, but I disagree with the idea that I know that Jose is a pragmatic manager, but there are different ways to be pragmatic. Okay, and so I've gone De Gea in net, Valencia right back, Bay, Jones if he's fit, and that's who I'll put in the starting lineup. But it might be Smalling. That's not sort of what matters in my lineup. But I've gone Young at left back. Okay, and I'll explain that in a sec. And then Matic, Herrera. We've talked about Martial already. Mickey, Mata, and Lukaku. So look, Young at left back. Right, I know they've said Blint is a positionally excellent, much better defender than Ashley Young, and I completely agree. But there's another way to be pragmatic. Look, you're looking at Liverpool's side that doesn't actually play with fixed positions up top. Salah isn't going to just play wide right. Coutinho isn't going to play just wide left. And Firmino isn't going to necessarily... It might be Sturridge or Firmino, but they're not. If it's Sturridge, he'll play central, but Firmino can drift. So the idea that Blint's positionally will be an advantage, I'm not sure. I think you might need Ashley Young's pace in terms of like his recovery, in terms of the movement that the back four have. And the other way that the front three have. The other way to look at it in terms of pragmatism is Ashley Young getting forward is excellent compared to Daley Blind, and therefore you're pushing their players back. They need to cover him. So we need to take the game to Liverpool. I know that we're going to put. I know this is probably not what's going to happen, but this is how I'd like to see it happen. And you're going to take their forwards out of the game by pushing forward with Valencia on one side, Ashley Young on the other side. And then you've got Matic and Herrera sitting. That's how I would like to see it happen. And Mata, I think I would play him in there because of just his intelligence, the way he drifts into space. And again, he doesn't hug that touchline, drifts in the middle. It's an extra player for their midfielders to worry about. Their defenders, do they step out? And then they've got Lukaku, who will obviously occupy their entire back four if at times he will do that with his movement and obviously his presence. And then the space created for the likes of Mkhitaryan and Martial, I would see us look on paper, forgetting the fact that it's Liverpool, we should be completely destroying them. But it's Liverpool at Anfield and it's United, so
You know what's great, right? Joshy, while you're speaking, we're showing your team on screen, and we no one can see Paul's face, but Paul has just been pulling some amazing facial expressions throughout this whole video. It's been brilliant, and I know he's been dying to get in there. So, Paul from the Redmen TV, this is your time to shine. Tell us about Liverpool, and tell us why we should be pretty scared.
Well, I think it's quite interesting, the debate over the left back stuff for you guys, because I agree. If you're gonna sit deep and you're gonna sit in and you're gonna park the bus, then Daley Blind's the guy you want to play in at left back, because that game intelligence will help him massively. If you're gonna play higher, then Young makes it look. Mohamed Salah is the fastest thing I've ever seen in my life. He is ridiculous, and he will stay wide right. He might drift in a little bit more centrally in terms of if things break in the 18-yard box, but he will provide a lot of natural width down there, and we'll just look to stick it over the top and him to chase it down. And the thing is, he's so fast that he doesn't need a half a pitch to run into. We can stick clever little balls, and we saw it. Phil Coutinho played a ball to him against Leicester in the league, and it was just a deep cross to the back post, and all he needed to be was fast over 2 yards to get to it first, and he scores. So I think that's the biggest area of where you are going to be troubled by us, and I'm not sure you've got a perfect solution to the problem, if I'm perfectly honest, because you don't have neither of those guys, I'm sure you'll all admit, is a proper left back.
I agree.
But for us, I think the biggest loss, we did it on the preview show with the debate show with you guys. Sadio Mane is a massive miss for us. He's not been in great form since he came back from his ban, but again, it's that thing of when you had him, Firmino, Salah, and Coutinho playing in a withdrawn attacking midfield role, you've got four guys there plus one of the advanced midfielders as well who can stick the ball in the back of the net, and that's where our real strength lies. Now it's whether Liverpool return Coutinho to the left wing, which, I mean, look, again, you saw it firsthand in the Europa League what he can do from that position, but I don't know. I'm torn. I think Liverpool will probably do that. It'll probably be Coutinho, Firmino, Salah in the front three, and we'll go for the more combative midfield three of Henderson, Chan, and Wijnaldum. But don't be shocked if Oxlade-Chamberlain gets a nod on the wing again, just because of his pace.
Is he allowed off the bench?
Laugh all you want.
Don't laugh. Don't laugh in the preview.
Listen, that's going to be alongside Macola's combined 11 sweets. Bear in mind, if this will bang, in his words, if he has a belter of a game this weekend. No, but I wouldn't be shocked to see Coutinho playing in midfield, because I think playing against teams that do sit in and do look to stop us from playing, Coutinho, that role has been built for Coutinho to make those passes, to pick things apart, to supply the ammunition. So we might see Liverpool do that.
I'm going to be completely honest. I'm never, ever happy. I'm never happy when I find out that a football player's injured. But I was quite buzzing when I found out that Mane is going to be out this game. I'm going to be completely honest. I think it's a massive help for us because, I feel like a lot of us have said, I feel like left back is our weakest position without doubt. I don't really rate Daley Blind there. I think he's been very disappointing when he's played there. And Ashley Young, let's face it, isn't a left back and can be ripped apart. Right, score predictions dead quick. Let's get them in. Halson, what you saying?
3-2 United.
3-2. Dave, go on, what you saying, mate?
I'm going 2-1. 2-1 United.
2-1, right. Joshy?
Oh my God, this is the kind of thing that's just going to get clipped up and sent around the internet, isn't it?
Only if you say like 5-0.
Only if you say 5-0.
Yeah,
No,
you're
I
like,
think-
oh, we're going to mince them. That's when it gets clipped. So if you're like, it's going to be a close game.
I'm not even joking. On paper, we should be absolutely taking this team apart. Liverpool are not a good side at the moment, and I don't. In a combined 11, I'd probably take 2 of them at a push. But it's Liverpool anyway. I'm going to go with 3-0 United.
What? Yeah, now it's going to get clipped up if we lose. You've
I
dropped
don't
yourself in
fucking
it there, mate.
I love it.
I don't care. Watch the whole video.
Josh
I know it's going to get clipped up.
Josh
And
is going
whatever.
viral. Josh is going viral this weekend. Paul from Redmen TV, what you saying, man? What's your score prediction?
Dave had the right numbers, but the wrong way round. 2-1 to Liverpool.
Don't need
2-1 to Liverpool, right, okay. I'm sticking with what I said the other day, a conservative 3-1. Right, thank you very much for tuning in and watching us today on the Liverpool preview for Full Time Devils. You can go and check out the debate that I did, by the way, with the guys from Redmen TV. It's good fun, just me going down to Liverpool and trying to wind up a load of Scousers. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us today. We'll be doing the fan cams, of course, on Saturday. I'll be there in Liverpool, and we are very much looking forward to it. That's not really the right thing to say. I'm not looking forward to it at all. I've got this horrible feeling in my stomach which has developed this morning, and it's not just because of what I had for breakfast. Right, thank you very much. We will be back soon. See you in a bit. Laters.